also work the fingers, it's very important. Got the brain and the sinuses in here, the eyes and the ears. And you do this 3 times. Make sure you cover the solar plexus area there as well. Just to finish off this hand, you work down this spinal reflex, which is down the side of the thumb. And then on the other side, we're going to do a few what we call thumb rotations on this palmar area here. And this just really helps to relax the whole area. And you can see this caterpillar move just going down so that you're covering the whole of the palm. Hello Melissa.
Hello.
Thank you for joining me today to focus on hand reflexology. So if you want to let me have a look at your hands, and while I'm talking I'm going to be checking your hands, although we have actually already cleansed them, but I'm just going to give them a thorough check over. So previously we've been tracing and mapping and colouring the reflex points on the hands. Today I want to do something slightly different and take that further and actually do a reflexology treatment and really have a go at doing that as my first attempt of a reflexology hand treatment. What I want to do first is just refer back briefly to the point of reflexology and cover a little bit of the history, how it works, and the benefits while I'm just checking your hands over. So reflexology fascinated people for years, has its history in Chinese therapy, and in about 1913 an ear, nose and throat specialist really looked at reflexology in detail and identified something called zone therapy. And when you look at this, you'll see pictures of the zones. When you look at the feet or the hands, they have mapped zones corresponding up throughout the body. And the idea is that obviously if there are any blockages on any one of those zones, then that's what you need to work to eliminate. That's the basic principle behind it. But it was taken a little bit further in the 1930s by somebody called Eunice Ingham, and she mapped out the reflexology points on the feet, the hands and the ears, you can also do reflexology, not just, the most obvious one that people hear about is the feet. But actually, if you've got problems with your feet or your mobility, then what do? So one of the alternatives is to do reflexology on the hands, but you can also do reflexology on the ears and even the face. And they're good alternatives to a foot reflexology massage. So how does it actually work in practice? So theoretically, reflexology stimulates all the nerve endings, and they send signals along the spinal column, and we'll look a little bit later where the spinal column is. We've done quite a bit of that when we've done the mapping and colouring in terms of identifying where the spinal column is. But this signal goes up the spinal column up to the thalamus in the brain, and that then produces endorphins. And when these reflexology points are located correctly and we use particular methods, for example, I can feel various parts already just by touching, and if you get those reflexology points correct and accurately, it stimulates the body's whole nervous system to react, and that gives such an element of well-being in terms of inducing things like relaxation, improving your circulation. It releases any blockages, as I was talking about earlier, on those energy pathways or the zones. It gives you an overall sense of well-being, which is what we're really aiming for here as well. Sometimes actually just taking time out for yourself, I think, adds to that whole well-being process. And obviously, if you can't do reflexology on the feet, then this is a wonderful alternative in terms of doing hand reflexology. So taking time out, as I said, for yourself is very important, part of that well-being process. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to pop some cream on the hands so that it doesn't drag when you're doing some of these moves, and then we'll go into a full reflexology treatment.
Thank you.
Okay, so what we're going to start off with doing is doing what we call some hand relaxers, and this is just a way of getting the hand area to relax. So the first one is what we call wrist loosening. That feels nice and relaxed there, and we do the same on the other side.
That feels nice, actually.
Yeah, just getting that to relax. Because sometimes people arrive and they are quite non-relaxed, and this really, really helps to get them to do that. So that's the first move there. Then what we're going to do is go into a wrist circling move. So you do a few moves around here on this side, and then we'll turn the wrist over. And that just follows through nicely from the first relaxer. Do this side first. It's about 3 to 5 moves of this, depending on how relaxed your client is. And then we're going to do some what we call thumb sweeps. And then on the other side, we're going to do a few what we call thumb rotations on this palmar area here. And this just really helps to relax the whole area. Do the same on the other hand. So a few thumb sweeps on this side. We'll turn it over and do some of these thumb rotations on the palmar side. That ensures that you've got both hands nicely relaxed. Okay, so one of the final relaxer moves is the metacarpal spreading. So I'm going to hold firmly on the bottom here, and then just move along the metacarpals so that they're nicely relaxed. Okay, and with the other hand as well. Okay, and that just allows both hands to be relaxed and ready for the treatment. So we're going to start with the left plantar view, and because obviously you've only got a small space on the hands, and we don't go into as much intricate detail as we do on the feet, so we're going to focus on just doing horizontal moves using what we call a caterpillar move, and we're going to cover as much of the palm as we possibly can. First of all, horizontally across the palm. It's very relaxing while you're doing this.
It feels really nice.
And then once you've covered the palm horizontally, we switch and we do vertically. And you can see this caterpillar move just going down so that you're covering the whole of the palm. And then what we'll do is we'll do that on the other hand as well. Horizontally. And then vertically. Start on this side. Okay, so we're now going to also work the fingers, which is very important. Got the brain and the sinuses in here. The eyes and the ears. And you do this 3 times. And then, just to finish off this hand, you work down this spinal reflex, which is down the side of the thumb and down the bottom of the palm. And then once you've done that, you move to the other hand and do the same on this hand. This is why you've got to keep your nails really short, because that caterpillar move, you can really dig your nails in. You want to avoid doing that. Okay, and again, the spinal reflex. if you want, you can do that 3 times as well. Okay, and if at any time you feel your client is not relaxed, then just do some small palmar moves again. That gets them more back into a relaxed state, because you can see here naturally the fingers start curling up and then your client gets tense. So do open up the palm again and do some of those palmar rotations, and that will get your client to relax again. Okay, so we've now finished the plantar aspect of the hands. So if I turn over, we're going to now do the dorsal view. So if I turn over my reference here to the dorsal view, and so that we can see that clearly, and then what we're going to do is actually massage the channels along the dorsal view here, so that you get rid of any blockages in these channels. And they'll be fairly obvious when you try those. And then you have a large space here as well, which you can massage, which holds quite a lot of energy points between the thumb and the finger here. Then we'll do the same on here. So just walk through these channels. And you can do them as many times as you feel is appropriate for your client needs.
That bit feels really good. It is really tense.
You can feel that. So obviously if your client is reacting in any way, or if you can, sometimes you can feel like grainy areas under the skin, then just spend a little bit more time on that area. Okay. Right, so one of the final moves we've got on the dorsal view is to really focus on these knuckle areas that hold quite a bit of tension. So if we start over here and just do this as much as is required, especially as it's the last few moves, just to keep your client relaxed, and swap over hands if it's easier to do that. And we'll do this on the other hand, and then we'll come back to finish off there. And obviously the depth that you're using is what your client needs. Some clients can put up with a little bit more pressure, but on small hands such as this one, you need to have the right pressure, but it needs to be gentle enough so it doesn't cause any irritation or pain. That's the knuckle for the thumb there. Okay, I want to switch back to the other hand, and then what you do is you move down to the other knuckles. So try and relax your hand a little bit more, that's it.
It's so easy to tense them up without thinking.
It really is, yeah. And as I said, if at any point you feel like your client is tensing up, then go back and do those palmar moves, or use some of those other relaxers that we did at the beginning, and that will get your client to relax again, and they'll get a better treatment as a result of that. Because you're working in quite a small confined space, so the natural instinct is for people to react and tense up when people are touching that area. So the more relaxed you can get them, the more benefit they're going to get from treatment.
It's only making me sleepy.
That's what it's designed to do. It's all part of that well-being. Take away the stress, any stress that you're feeling. anything like these holistic treatments helps to bring back that balance, allows you a little bit of peace for a while. Okay, so if you bring the other area back, what we're just going to do is just smooth as much as possible, just to make sure that it's totally relaxed. And I like to turn over and do, everybody loves these palmar moves. Make sure you cover the solar plexus area there as well. So that's that one complete. And then just smooth down on this side as well. And then just a few gentle palm rotations. Covering some key areas there as well. There we go. So that was the first time I've done a hand reflexology in quite a while. How was that for you?
It's really nice. Yeah, I've only really done that or had that done to me on the feet before.
Yeah, it's very different.
Yeah, didn't really know what to expect, but actually I used my hands so much for typing.
Yeah.
They were so tensed up, actually.
I do think these days, with the life that we lead, a lot of people do that. A lot of people are on their phone, constantly using their fingers on their computers. And we use our hands, even in manual jobs as well. We use our hands so much. Our hands deserve a bit of care. And this actually is a holistic treatment as well. So it's looking at those energy lines, taking out any blockages, and really giving you that overall sense of well-being, so that you leave the treatment thinking, actually, no, that I really have benefited from that. And the beauty of this is that people can do it on themselves as well. So a bit of self-hand reflexology on these crucial areas can really enhance that overall sense of well-being. So thank you very much for your help today.
Thank you.